Hello. Shut up. Oh my god. Okay, we're doing this. Hello. Welcome. I'm sorry, guys. I'm so tired. Welcome to Baki Taki, Season 4, Episode 12. And I'd like to give a huge thanks to Jack for coming in as a last-minute guest. Yeah, I am so tired. I got in from San Francisco a few days ago, and boy, are my arms tired. And the
were you using the pterodactyl method, like Baki? You becoming
Yeah, I did that, and then the plane took off without me because they thought that I could fly home. They were so impressed. Yeah, no, it's been a busy week, and as listeners know, I had Lindsay on already so recently, and I did that solo episode. The one review on Spotify said it went well. Every in-person I asked said it did not go well, so we're not going to be doing that again.
You could have always had ChatGPT guest with you on this one.
I could. I did enough AI stuff this weekend. This week. But anyway, this is not the final episode of this season. It's the penultimate one. Although it is called Final Form, which is a bit of an odd name for the episode. It doesn't come until the last minute.
Yeah, and then I looked at the summary for the next episode, and then it talks about the final form. It's a very strange.
Yeah. But Jack, before we jump into the episode, I have a new question that I'm giving people.
Thrilled.
So we only have, this is episode 12, I think we have 15 episodes left of Baki total. What do you want to see happen? What do you want to see happen before we're done?
Oh, that's a good one. I want to see, that's a hard question. I want to see a marriage. I want to see Doyle get married to Retsu.
Oh, that'd be so sweet. I don't know if we'll get that, but we'll find out.
I think it'll happen.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it seems in line with the quality.
The way the show's going. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So last episode with Pankuri, we ended things off with Baki knew how to take the form of a T-Rex or a Triceratops or even a pterodactyl. And the question was, where is he going to go from here? Jack, where does Baki go from that?
In my favorite Baki move, he introduces it and then he says, "Not anymore." He kind of like
I think that's on the Baki bingo that we
have. He has this great new move where he could emulate all three kinds. He's kind of he looking at the image now. He takes the form of all three at once.
It had the T-Rex's teeth and tail, the Triceratops' feet and horns, the Pteranodon's wings and talons. The weapons of three powerful foes combined in one creature.
Yeah.
So you see Baki standing there with this smorgasbord of a dinosaur with a T-Rex's head and a pterodactyl's wings, and I guess
Triceratops horns.
The Triceratops horns and feet. It looks like I don't even know what it looks like. It kind of looks like a dodo bird with an angry head. So he takes like this chimera of all three against Pickle, and Pickle is terrified of it. He's, never has something had all three.
It's fair.
And then he ditches it.
Well, yeah, Baki gets about one move down with this technique. He runs up, grabs Pickle's arm, and Pickle imagines that a T-Rex has bitten his arm.
He may have been the greatest fighter of the Cretaceous period, but Pickle knew nothing of the martial arts. Understandably, he mistook the pain he felt as coming from a T-Rex attack.
I think Pickle makes a lot of faces. I'm sorry, Pickle makes the same 3 faces sort of repeatedly.
Yes.
He looks like a bored guy, he looks like a demon, and he looks like the scaredest man in the world who just found out that ghosts are real. And that's my favorite of his faces, and he does that a lot when he sees Baki transform into this super creature.
Yeah, he's always straddling between like dumbfounded and afraid, and then just his pupils no longer exist and his eyes go white and he's so angry. Yeah.
Oh man. So Baki gets in some good hits. I honestly, I've loved rewatching this fight. I really like it because we get to see like both characters' strengths, and especially like these have been built up throughout the season and the whole show. Like Baki is a guy whose biggest strength is that he's really good at imagining things to fight and learning how
his
to
imagination
fight.
is his strongest suit. Yeah.
Honestly. And then Pickle, on the other hand, has had a few techniques that he's used all throughout the season. And Baki's sort of been destroying them one by one. Like, first off, Pickle has this cow skull that is impenetrable to concussions, and we saw last episode that Baki was able to get around that. And then this time, Pickle goes into his pickle pose, where he gets completely horizontal, and Baki's got an answer for that. But before that, maybe Jack, you could fill in the thoughts on
the pickle
sprinting.
pose?
Yeah, the pickle pose, and also the weird like docudrama style where Retsu starts talking about it.
This episode gave you everything that you just were never expecting. It starts with this chimera dinosaur, and you think, okay, we're talking about dinosaur fighting styles versus like a caveman. Awesome. And it's really into it. There's always a dinosaur in the background, and then it goes black and white to the the history of sprinting and proper sprinting poses.
Did you notice also that he just said people have been trying to figure out the best way to sprint for a long time?
Yeah, in the Olympics before World War II.
The search for the best stance from which to start a sprint has gone on for a long time. In the Olympics before World War II, sprinters used various styles of starting positions.
So yeah, the narrator chimes in and is, lets us know that the best way to do it, the consensus is you have to get as horizontal as possible. If it ain't, close to the ground, like you're going to fall on your face, then it's not worth it. It regales us with the invention of the genius device known as a running block, or a starting block. And we've always been close to horizontal, but not fully there until Pickle jumps off a fucking wall. Oh my god, it's so good.
It's so good. And
yeah.
Just another small nitpick with this part is that the narrator says for the first time ever somebody was able to do a horizontal start. But then, like the next line, Retsu goes, "Oh, Pickle must have done this all the time in the Cretaceous period," or whatever. It's like, oh god.
So it wasn't for the first time ever.
Yeah.
Narrator doesn't really give us any room for imagination. He says, but the man who accomplished this incredible and unprecedented feat was no modern day human. It's like, yeah, we know it's Pickle. He's doing it right now.
I thought it was Usain Bolt.
Seriously.
Yeah.
And he's not even his body's not fully horizontal. His feet are fully, like his, like maybe shins are, but he's just kind of.
I would find it so funny if he turned his body all horizontal. Like, that would look so stupid. Like,
I think it'd be good.
You'd get like
the widest squat possible and just go down like a spring.
Oh man. Yeah, and so, the weird thing is all of this is done, like, we're getting like an interview after the match with Retsu on like someone's home video recorder.
Asked about it later, Sea King Retsu had this to say about what he saw during that moment.
No, it can't be. Triceratops!
And he's wearing sunglasses.
He's wearing sunglasses. He's wearing this kind of like really funky paisley shirt and sunglasses. Like, has this interview ever been like utilized before
No.
in any other episode.
I also,
Why?
like, where's this interview even going? Like, is this going to be on 60 Minutes?
It's about the history of sprinting and the time that somebody finally got it right.
Oh man, that feels like a John Boy's video. It's like the world's fastest sprinter was actually a caveman in the Tokyo Dome.
Somebody get out the Google Earth modifications.
It's just a.
So kind of Retsu takes over the de facto narration from that point on. So it's this really weird handoff of narration from the narrator regaling us with the history of sprinting and why the more horizontal you are, the better. And then it goes to Retsu to say, like, I'd never seen this before. He went fully horizontal, which he, had never done before. And I'm 220 pounds, and that will, like, destroy me. So if Baki's 150, he's done for.
It's solid logic. I also love the image of Retsu, like, pancaked into a wall that they cut to.
I do. Yeah, that's a good one. Followed by, like, Pickle throwing it back. His ass is way up in the air.
That's a great way to describe it, yeah. Just before we get to the results, there was one line that I really loved that Retsu had. So Pickle does this whole Pickle pose thing in, like, a fraction of a second. Yes. But Retsu is, describing it for like a minute and a half. And the guy, and I guess the documentarian asks Retsu, like, how do you know all this? This took 1 second. How did you observe it? And so Retsu's like, have you ever had curry and rice?
In such a brief period of time, how could I have so many thoughts? Well, you know what it's like? It's like taking a bite of a truly delicious curry and rice.
It's like you taste it, and it takes longer to describe how good it is than it is to eat it.
Yeah, like you'll like I can't eat the whole curry and rice in 1 second, but I could get the flavors all in 1 second. Sweet, a little sour. What does him having thoughts in the span of a second have anything to do with the rest of the episode? But for whatever reason, they take a good minute or two for him to explain how eating works.
You know what it reminds me of? There's a Futurama episode where they have to create this TV show to distract the brains or whatever. And so Fry wrote it, and they get about 2 minutes in, and they're on the last page, and they're like, Fry, this has to be a half hour. And he's like,
Fry, there's nothing else here. You only wrote 2 pages of dialogue.
Well, it took an hour to write. I thought it would take an hour to read.
Like, that's like the logic here. It's like, I observed it in X time, so it's I would have thought it'd take Y time. Anyway.
Yeah, it's bizarre. Also so it has that moment. It's just like the show is throwing you around at this point, your attention around, to be like, you cannot hold anything for more than 2 minutes. A great moment is that Pickle collides with Baki, and then a shot of like blinding light erupts from the two of them, from a guy running into another. It looks,
like
and the sound effect
collider.
Yeah, the sound effect and the look of it looked like the thing in Kingdom Hearts where you like unlock a world all of a sudden. What is happening?
Oh my god, it was crazy. We've talked about this Pickle pose for much longer than it happened somehow. I don't know how we did that. It's almost like when I eat curry and rice. But Pickle has done this pose. He's done it all season, and it's been very effective. Even against Jack, it was pretty good. What can Baki do?
Got me pretty good. But next time, I'll get him next time.
Oh yeah, okay, whatever. Great. I'll use Jack Hanma from now on. But anyway,
people confuse us regularly. We're about the same height.
Ever since that bone lengthening surgery you had. Hey, you're both Canadian.
We are.
So Baki is able to, as they collide, Baki is still standing. Pickle goes flying like he got shot out of a cannon into the stadium. And this time, Hanayama is here to explain what happened. How did this magic trick happen, Jack?
So the reason why Pickle got sent, quote unquote, halfway up to the moon, into the bleachers of a stadium, is because if something is going super fast motion, it takes less effort to kind of redirect it, to push it. And he tells us the example of, like, if you shoot somebody, the bullet doesn't exit like immediately straight through you. It kind of bounces off other things. So if you shoot somebody through the stomach, it could come out their shoulder. I don't think like, I'm not so sure about that.
Yeah, I think this is one of those things where there's a kernel of truth. It'll come out at a different angle than it came in, but in the stomach, out the shoulder is pretty incredible.
Or a bullet being deflected by a leaf, like that was another example.
I believe that. That's why I never rake my yard in case I need to defend myself. But
somebody comes shooting and then it rebounds at them. Sorry, go on.
No, but when they took that shot, like, it was like a little pantomime scene, and I don't know what was going on. It was just a guy walking in the airport, and a security guard just like shot him in the back. Like, I don't think it was such a weird visual.
Oh, was that the visual that that they animated? Oh my god, yeah.
Like, I don't know what that was supposed to be. Like, maybe he forgot his boarding pass.
Hey, you have a bottle of water. Stop.
You're in zone 5. You don't board yet. Oh my god. So I just wanted to clarify here, because I rewatched, because I still found this very odd. I can't prove that this is at an airport, but it is just a guy in a suit. I guess he's part of the mob. I don't know. He looks bored as hell, just walking through a building, and some guy in a baseball cap is just shooting him in the middle of broad daylight. Like, this is some gangs in New York shit. And yeah, I don't know. Like, this is obviously just like a placeholder to explain bullet physics, but it's such a weird shot. Also, you could tell my rage at people who try and get onto the plane before their zone is called. And if you do that, man, you don't want to talk to me right now. Anyway.
Too bad that guy had a leaf. The security guard never knew what was coming.
It hit the leaf and bounced back into the security guard.
Yeah. So all Baki needed to do, because he was going at such a fast pace, all Baki needed to do was flick his wrist, and then he got like shot up into the ceiling.
It was incredible. Pickle's fine though, because he's made of adamantium, and he jumps back down to the arena. But then Baki does something a bit disrespectful. He pees in 8 different parts of the arena.
I peed in 8 different spots. Since you've decided to cower in the shadows up there, I've marked this arena as my territory.
What? What in the world are you thinking?
The audacity.
Yeah. Oh my god. They peed again. I was like, I was not expecting him to start just like pissing, and then he pisses 8 times, and they animate every single one. The clearest stream ever.
Yeah. It's a little tricky learned from Biscuit Oliva. He's like...
Just start peeing if you want to intimidate.
Yeah, you say it's the clearest stream ever, but it's one of the fun quirks of this show is they all have to have perfectly clear streams, or else I think they'd have to be rated at a different rating.
The thing about these fights is they do get tested for steroids afterwards, but if they pee throughout their fight, they have nothing left to test. Yeah, that's my theory.
I love the idea of them just testing an empty vial, and they're like, "Oh,
yeah,
steroids here."
Yeah.
All right, this when Baki has the big brain move of the episode and decides, I don't want to use my dinosaur moves. I don't want to do the stupid wrist flick thing. I'm gonna walk up and we're gonna settle this like men. And Pickle turned. I've used it before, but I think it's always applicable. He fights like the Hulk, and he just smashes Baki, and then just starts kicking him in probably one of the worst animated sequences of the season, and just repeatedly kicks him as the screen vibrates.
That is saying a lot, but you're entirely right. It is just moving pictures at this point. The most animation was like the cutaway to Retsu like smizing at the camera. Like that was like the most vivid animation that they've done.
I think the problem is there's so much fighting this season. They're like, nah, this isn't the finale. We'll cut the budget there. Also, it's in contention for the worst animated part because there's also the part where Pickle gets kicked to the balls and starts doing a 360 like helicopter spin on the ground.
Oh my god.
I like that one more.
Well, yeah, we'll get to that one because if there isn't something that makes an episode the best episode of Baki for me, it's a good nut tack.
Well, that seemed to do the trick.
Of course it did. The trusty kick to the groin. I've never known it to fail.
But yeah, so Baki is like, I'm gonna stop fighting like the way that I've adapted this new incredible style, and I'm just gonna get my beaten up for a while. And Pickle uppercuts him, and he takes off like a rocket. Like the sand underneath his feet follows his feet up to the ceiling, and he says, "Oh, the ceiling! This is the third time I've been here today."
Yeah, that was fun. And I love this because in a show about Baki, we really don't get a lot of time to see what's going on in his mind, and so we get a nice little interlude where Baki's getting the crap kicked out of him, that we can see he's thinking about all of the people he's fought before, like Oliver and Hanayama. I like how he acts like Oliver versus Pickle would be a good fight. I think Oliver would get absolutely obliterated. But it ends with him sort of focusing on his relationship with his dad.
Yeah.
So, one of my biggest problems with this show is that the core of the show and the final arc is all about Baki's relationship with his father, and they don't really explain it at all. This is probably one of the most in-depth scenes of it, 50 episodes in. So, what did you take away from Baki's relationship with Yujiro?
It's complicated in a way that I feel like it shouldn't be complicated. He killed his mom, right? Like, Yujiro killed his mom.
And he says, a big bear hug.
Yeah, and he says, "Do I hate him for it? Yes. But also, do I admire him? Also, yes." What? You killed your mother, and like, why?
Gotta give him props though for that one.
Yeah. I mean, if the guy can hug, he can really hug. It's honestly a bizarre take where he's coming to, I don't know if he's like forgiving his dad, more so just saying, he's just really strong, and you gotta admire the strong.
This is a teaser for like the next season. We're going to be talking about this a lot. It's a very complicated dynamic that I think has changed over the years in the comics.
Well, can I say that I was looking at the episode listings? Can I say the episode title of the final episode of season 2? Or
sure. What is that? Taste of Dad.
It's Taste of Dad. And then halfway through the season, the other one that I think is funny is Father and Son Dining, and then it closes with Taste of Dad.
I like how it's Father and Son Dining followed by the biggest father-son fight in history.
Okay, not a good meal. Okay,
that's also,
last time we're going to Olive Garden.
Yo, it's I would talk more, but I love those episodes. Also, the biggest father-son fight in history is a claim they say all the time in this show, and it's like, what is the second biggest father-son fight? Like,
I want the runner-up.
Most of the time, somebody fights their dad. It's not a fair fight. It's either like it's a pretty narrow period where they're at physical, rivals. But anyway,
yeah.
I'm gonna be bringing my dad on next season for one of these episodes.
So good. Are you guys gonna do a little bare knuckle box at the end of the episode just to emulate or try and get third place?
No, we're gonna imagine that that he's making dinner for me, which is a lot closer to how a lot of this fight goes.
I can just see like the superimposed pots and pans behind your dad in sort of a similar way to Baki's dinosaur move.
Yeah. So that brings us to sort of the what is it? A fun part of the episode where I had one little comment before we get into the big Baki's big hit. So Baki walks up to Pickle at one point and says, "We're both Homo sapiens." Do you think that they're both Homo sapiens, or do you think it's just that Baki doesn't? Do you think that the author is wrong, or that Baki is wrong?
Oh, that's a good question. I did just want to. They said strongest being in the Cretaceous period, and he's right. I mean, like where Pickle would kind of be historically is in the Cretaceous period. So I think the author's got it right. I think Baki's just dumb. I mean, we've seen him. I saw him in class in the first episode, and he is wholly uninterested. So I think he's a bad student.
It's funny. We were talking about this in the last episode. The idea that Baki knows so much about the human body and anatomy, but he sleeps through all of his classes.
Yeah.
But yeah. All right. So the final phase.
Maybe does he know the evolution of man?
I bought my brother a shirt a few years ago because I just looked up Baki's shirt on like Redbubble, I think. And there was one which is just the evolution of man, but after man, it's Yujiro Hanma. it's so stupid. Anyway, so this leads to the what is it called? Yeah, so Baki, as he starts thinking more clearly, he starts getting in his groove, and he can dodge any hit that Pickle can land on him. And Pickle's like, holy shit, he's seeing a ghost again. He starts imagining that Baki's like a butterfly that apparently can go through his body. That was, actually, let's talk about that for a second. I love that. The idea that... So Pickle, as a child, tried to catch a butterfly. And I think we've all been there where you think you catch... This is more for a fly or a mosquito for me, where you think you've caught them, but then it floats away. So
what you didn't realize is that the fly actually went through you. They phased through your body.
And I thought that was really stupid. But then I realized that the inventor of karate actually got to the point where he could do that too.
Late in his life, the fighter known far and wide as the father of fighting karate once said. Then he said that once during an ordinary practice session, he experienced something extraordinary. He passed through them. He had transcended merely circling his opponents and entered a state of passing through them.
Like, if that's not the most, like, the best story that tells you what people who really get into martial arts are like.
Yeah. I finally achieved pure butterfly format. He just becomes so, I guess, in touch with dodging that quite literally Pickle is passing through Baki's body because he's just dodging with no extraneous movements, I guess.
Yeah. And it leaves Baki in the perfect spot to, capitalize on this. And so with his imaginary rapier,
because he's a matador, they compare him to being a matador in a bullfight, essentially, because he's dodging so deftly.
I did like that metaphor. Oh my god! I just my screen is frozen on this punch. But
I'm really quickly, just before we get to the punch itself, he does have a moment where he quite literally apparates behind Pickle, like he is in Dragon Ball Z. When Goku teleports, they do the thing where it's like phases in, phases out, phases in, and then he's there.
Yeah,
like
nothing personnel, kid. But yeah. So after phasing through, it is like the end of it. That would be another good fight to just play like the Ultra Instinct music.
It's a total,
But Baki lands a punch right up into Pickle's balls, and we've seen this on Baki before. It's not an uncommon move to kick a guy in the balls. But
doesn't he punch him?
He punches him.
Yeah. In his hand, an invisible blade, like a matador's sword. Dude, how many matadors use a sword? They use a blanket, and then.
Unfortunately, I do hate to burst the bubble of Jack and anybody else who grew up watching Matador cartoons. Matadors do use a sword, and they do kill the bull in the final act. Anyway, back to the comedy podcast.
Before you can even think about it, just total connection, just like boom, right in the balls. And then the quote is, "It penetrated deep." Pickle's face afterwards, he looks like he's just seen God. Because he could predict how great the coming pain would be. Like, what is going on?
Now, if there's anybody out there, for all of our female listeners who don't understand what it's like to get punched in the balls, and might be confused, why does this hurt? Luckily, Retsu goes on about a 2-minute monologue about the logic of this. And this is like, I don't know, maybe this is one of those things where it's like they're not teaching the kids sex ed in school, so now Baki has to do it for you.
It does, just inexplicably, it shows you a full, anatomy of the balls and how they are developed and why they're so susceptible to damage and so delicate.
How can a blow to two such tiny parts of the body cause so much pain?
It's not about size. Their importance is far from small. The testicles are vital internal organs.
Because he says they're outside of the body, which no, they're inside of the body. Oh, I'm just getting the clip of him spinning around like a b-boy in response to being hit in the balls.
It's so the spinning is so good.
It's like a Bugs Bunny moment, like.
But that's the thing with it. It's a very classic Baki scene where the author has taken like a fact about the human body and had Retsu explain it to the audience. But like it's not like an unknown fact. Like we spend like a few minutes talking about how like the testicles are kept outside of the, they're not stored in where all the other vital organs are because they need to be kept at a colder temperature for the sperm to live. And it's like, it's an interesting fact you learn in like grade 7. Like I can't imagine Retsu explaining to Tokugawa like how the balls work. Like this isn't the conversation.
He, like, deadly serious. He kind of says like, it's imagine if your heart was where your balls were. And Tokugawa says, I'd never go outside.
Imagine it was your heart dangling there between your legs, wrapped only in a layer of skin. What a vulnerability that would be in a battle.
Hey, I don't think I'd ever leave the house.
The illustration, by the way, of a man who has a heart coming out of his groin was
awful.
Certainly something.
They literally animated. They put more animation into a pumping heart that's coming out of somebody's groin than they did into Pickle, fighting Baki in any way or jumping off the wall.
Yeah. But this is not the final episode. Pickle, it turned out when he got punched, it might have looked like he actually was seeing God and spinning around like a Beyblade. But Hanayama corrects us and actually says that when he went down, he had a fierce determination in his eyes. And so
sometimes if you're punched in the ball, you either look one of two ways. Either one, you're done for. You're like, oh my God, no. Or I'm gonna get him. And he had an I'm gonna get him look.
All right. Well, that's the end of the episode. It goes into the
it's so good. It just is off the wall. Something I wanted to say about the how this went down, but I can't remember what it is. I do have a new theory though, is that Retsu is the narrator based on this this 60 minutes recording of him.
I would enjoy that.
And the way that he goes into details about just random stuff, like how balls are delicate, or the history of a karate master who can phase through people. It lines up.
If you like random Retsu, just wait till next season. Next season is Baki, his dad, and Retsu goes to Vegas. Those are the two storylines. That's why I went to Vegas. I was inspired by my good friend Kaio Retsu. All right, Jack.
Just really quickly,
yeah.
do you think Pickle achieved his final form because Baki punched his balls up into him, so now he's impenetrable? He's got no weak spots.
Yes, I do think that's exactly it. I think.
And do you think a martial artist can look so cocky for being a terrific martial artist if almost every single time they fight, their big move is punching somebody in the balls?
I'm pretty sure that's a kung fu move, so yes.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
It's funny that's a reference to another episode of the podcast where Matt pointed out that Che Guevara kicked a guy in the balls, and then Baki went, "Is that kung fu?" But anyway,
man, there's so many kids at my public school who did kung fu. It's crazy.
that raises a lot of questions, but we're gonna move on. Jack, 2 questions, one from me, one from the fans. First off, you've watched a lot of Baki at this point. What's the trajectory of the show? Is it getting better?
Oh, it's so good, man. It's so much. How can you not enjoy this episode? He's a dinosaur, and then there's the best sprinter on the planet, and then all of a sudden he is peeing all over the ground, and then he punches the guy in the balls so hard that you have to explain why balls hurt when you get hit in them. It's such a fun show. I had a great time. It was like a fever dream.
All right, I'm glad to hear that. And then the follow-up, this is our fan question of the week. Which of the characters in this episode would be the best singer? So I have my answer.
Oh, that's a good question. I would bet that it's somewhere between Pickle. I feel like Pickle could be a good singer. Or Retsu. Retsu looks like a little pop star in this. It looks like he's they're filming him for a concert documentary, an Eras tour.
He does look like he's coming out of Spinal Tap. All right, and I would say Pickle because I think he's going to be able to hit the Sopranos after that hit he just took. Oh my god! All right.
God.
All right, that's all the Baki we've got to talk. Thank you so much for coming on late notice, Jack, and we'll see you all next week.
Usually somebody says something at the end of these.
Yeah.